Before we get into today's episode, listeners, I just want to thank our sponsors. Without our sponsors, we couldn't bring you this podcast. So today we have two sponsors, the first of which is Restaurant.com. With Restaurant.com, you can save at thousands of restaurants across the country with just a few clicks. Their dining deals range from $5 to $100. They never expire, and they cost a fraction of the face value. Dinner has never been easier with Restaurant.com, used for dine-in, takeout, or delivery. Restaurant.com is offering our listeners 50% off their next purchase by going to www.restaurant.com/podcast. That's www.restaurant.com/podcast for 50% off your next purchase. Restaurant.com, the best deal every meal. And our second sponsor for this episode is Nightcap, the drink spiking prevention scrunchie. Do you ever feel uncomfortable at a bar with your drink exposed? Are you someone who covers their drink with their hand or their napkin? Now you don't have to. Nightcap is a fun solution to a serious problem. It can be worn as a wristband or a hair tie and taken out to cover up your drink at any time. According to alcohol.org, 56% of women have reported having their drink spiked at some point. It's time to take action with Nightcap. With the holidays coming up, giving Nightcap to a friend or a loved one is the perfect way to show that you care about their safety. Go to nightcapit.com, that's NIGHTCAPIT.com, and enter the code BARTALK, all capital letters with a space in between bar and talk, for 20% off your order, valid until November 31st. And now, let's get into the podcast.
Across the line, the Gulf Stream, I've been in Tampa Bay, around the horn, and home again, 'cause that is the sailor's way.
Welcome back to the Old Colony Cast podcast about all things Plymouth and surrounding areas. I am your host, Andy, and I am joined, as always, by Hanna.
Hello.
And our engineer. I'm going to keep giving you titles. Engineer, producer, editor, research, human shield, Fish. Now is when you say hello.
And he's not talking on the podcast anyway.
And now? You set up the microphone for a reason. I mean,
I'm protesting.
Okay.
Okay.
So
I don't know why he's protesting. So, Hanna, I don't know if you know this, but like I'm sitting here with a flashlight under my chin because it's spooky time, and we're doing some spooky podcasts because we're like headed into late September and October, and that's what everyone wants to do. So, what are we talking about today?
So we're going to talk about
Murder.
Yeah. Again.
Hannah's favorite topic.
It's, you know what? I'm real happy you guys let me do a couple historical true crime episodes.
Nothing makes Hanna happy like murder.
This is
And rope.
You can't see the smile on her face.
I just want to clarify. I just like historical things and not necessarily murder, but very interested in true crime.
And making people disappear.
Okay. So anyway, we're going to talk about Jolly Jane Toppen.
Who I know nothing about, and I've called like 8 different things since you posed this.
Yeah, Flogging Molly.
Flogging Molly. I'm like, Janis Joplin. Who are we talking about?
So Jolly Jane Toppen, she is a Massachusetts native
Okay.
and the daughter of Irish immigrants. She was born March 31st in 1854. So Jolly Jane is not her actual name.
I assumed her first name was not really Jolly.
Well, Jane is not her middle, and nor is Toppen her last name.
Oh, so it's a complete nom de murder.
What are you saying?
A nom de plume is like a pen name, so like
Oh, okay.
nom de murder, it's like a murder pen name.
All right, I gotcha.
That's
Sure.
what I was going with.
So-
I'm trying to figure out why her name is not Jolly Jane Toppen.
Well, I'll tell you.
Okay.
I'll let you know about it. So she's actually born Honora Kelly, which I thought Honora was a beautiful
That's
name.
a really nice name.
Isn't it? Lovely. And her sister was...
You can be like, oh, I'm going to name my daughter Honora. And like, oh, what'd you name her after? Oh, it's a serial killer.
Her sister was It's spelled Delia, but...
Probably Delilah.
Delia?
Delia?
Delia, yeah.
Okay.
Delia?
Delia, yeah, and they called her Nellie apparently.
They're like, we don't even know how to pronounce it.
Let's just forget that one.
You guys forget it.
And like I said, she was born to Irish American, she was Irish American. Her parents were immigrants, and her mother died when she was really young of tuberculosis. Leaving,
Not unlike our previous podcast about Lizzie
yes,
Borden.
I'm assuming.
I mean, dying early, not of tuberculosis.
Yeah, exactly. Having a sister.
Yeah.
Her sister was older also, so.
I see some similarities.
Yes.
So if you are the younger of two sisters, you're going to murder someone? Is that what you're saying? Oh, God. Are you the younger of two sisters?
I am.
Fish. I am super uncomfortable. I need an adult.
So, anyway, but I also have two other brothers.
Oh, all right. So that's
Yeah,
that's
I think it mixes it up a
That's
little
fine
bit.
then. All right.
So, their father, Peter Kelly, was left to take care of them. And he was definitely known as eccentric in the community. Little crazy-ish, like a little... They called him Kelly the Crack. So
Okay.
his name's Kelly. So crack is in crack.
Crack
pot.
Oh, I was thinking like, England, Ireland, like bit of crack is like fun or...
I thought crack is cool, right?
No,
crack is
crack's
whack.
not. Crack's whack. No, but like in England and Ireland, like crack is like a jokey. Like,
Yeah, I
they're
thought
like
it
have
meant
a bit
like-
of crack.
yeah.
It's like let's have a good time.
No, it meant like crack pot.
Okay.
So yeah, it was not unknown that he was just like kind of the over the top character in the community, and he worked at a tailor when they were younger. And one day the owner of the tailor shop walked in and found him trying to sew his eyelids together.
Oh, so he was straight up nuts.
Yeah, he had some stuff going on.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
He's
and-
got some issues.
And she was born 1854, so this is like a real long time ago. So the guy who saw that was probably like, this.
Wow, that's even if today that'd be like that's off
very,
the charts.
very intense.
Yeah.
So now around 1860, after the eyelid scenario, he has to go and get taken away and put into
No way, really?
Yeah, and so he has to make arrangements for his daughters, who are now 8 and 6.
Okay.
So what he does is he drops them off at the Boston Female Asylum, which is just, I think it served as several different things, but for children that young, it was an orphanage.
Orphanage and kind of like a workhouse, that kind of thing.
I think it was just like an orphanage.
Yeah.
And I think it served for many services for females in the area, though. So, because he knew, like, he obviously couldn't take care of them, he was getting sent away.
He had issues.
Yes. So he did what he thought was best for them, and it seemed like they didn't have any like close family in the area either.
Yeah.
So they were there, not there super long, but long enough for a kid, about 2 years. And in
So
their
even at 8, that's only 10. I mean,
Yeah.
That's, okay.
yeah, but like when you're a kid and you're stuck in a place for like 2 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So it's 1862, and Mrs. Ann Toppen comes in, and she's
So they got adopted.
well,
Oh.
just one of them did.
Okay.
And Nellie, it doesn't really say what happened to her, but we know later on in life she ends up becoming a sex worker and ends up dying. They think from some kind of illness. They don't know. It didn't actually say that it related to her job.
Yeah.
But some reports were making some heavy suggestions
probably,
that
yeah.
it did. Although that might not be the case. Tuberculosis was still pretty popular and popular among the community. Not popular.
All the cool kids had tuberculosis.
But
But I mean, you could still get it from your work if you're a sex
yeah.
worker, you know.
So either way, obviously, like not the best environment for
Yeah.
a lot of workplaces, especially sex workers in the time. So that's what happened to her, but it doesn't really say when she got out.
Yeah.
So she could have been there longer. Jane, or Honora for the time, was only there for 2 years until Ann Toppen comes in and it's like, you know what? I actually need some help around the house. And I could use a good servant. So
So she wasn't like adopted. She was like hired at
she was she was roped into or forced to be an indentured servant.
Okay.
Yeah.
At 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
But adopted, kind of. Never really...
Like, adopted on paper,
Yeah.
but, like...
Actually, they never even officially adopted her. She literally was like, hey, check out this...
So was this like a Madonna thing? Like, just strolling and being like, here's some money, I'm going to take this kid?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, and then she did have an actual, like, contract, I guess. Like, she was a contracted worker. So, but she went with Anne, or Mrs. Toppen, and they decided to give her their surname, so she got the last name Toppen, and then they changed her first name to Jane, because they just didn't like Honora. They wanted it to be more, like, American.
Yeah.
And not
well, they're
Irish.
like, we're rich and we'll do what we want.
Yeah, that's, like, literally what happened.
Yeah.
And, so she went there to shop for orphans, and she found Honora, and the rest is history.
Shop for orphans.
Yeah,
Okay, sure.
pretty much what she was doing.
That's not wrong. That's what it was.
And she moved in with them in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Okay.
And
picturesque Lowell.
Yes, right? And the Toppins had a daughter around the same age as now Jane. And they were pretty close because they kind of grew up,
Sure.
kids going together. And now Jane, she was, yes, their servant, but also they provided her, like, with a lot of things. Like, she went to school. It wasn't like they neglected her care.
So she's kind of like the servant, indentured servant that certain people will be like, no, they took care of them. That kind of argument.
Yeah, probably. And I mean, she wasn't, like, not taken care of. She just, I think, had chores and things to do versus Elizabeth, her foster sister.
Yeah.
Not having as many things to do or worry about because Jane had to pay her way to live there. So, the family was, like, nice enough to her, for sure.
They were super nice to a servant, indentured servant.
Yes, and she wasn't part of the family, but she was part of the family.
Like adjacent.
Yeah. And they definitely hung her status as, like, an Irish immigrant's daughter over her head. Didn't really let her live it down.
This may be a throwback to a previous episode. Did she swear a lot?
No, she didn't.
All right. Good to know.
And she, like, they hung the status over her head and really never let her forget how good she had it.
Yep.
They were like, if it wasn't for us, you'd be wherever.
You'd be on the street and you'd be like your sister or whatever.
Yeah, probably something terrible like that, right? And it was likely that Jane started to grow a little jealous because here she was with this girl the same age as her who was getting, like, a far better treatment in life than she was. But as far as the things going on at home with her from the ages 10 and on, I think when she was 18, that's when she was contractually, like, okay to not.
She was, like, free?
Yeah. She did end up working for them for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Or I believe she worked for her foster sister until she went down a different path. But we'll get to that. She's described as really friendly, chatty, entertaining, even.
Oh, my God, that's like me.
Yeah. And I thought to myself, I can't even believe someone would take Andy's name out of this and put Jane.
Right.
It's crazy.
It's like you murder someone and suddenly they're like...
So Jane was just so liked around, like, the community. Like I said, like, she was still a part of events and things that happened. It's not like they hid her away and they're like, that's our weird servant girl, don't look at her. Like,
So it was one of those things. She was, like, part of the family and respected up until the point where they're like, whoa, just so you know, you're not part of the family.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of, like, mental abuse going on.
Yeah.
So,
you're our equal almost.
Right. And she ended up, like, being the babysitter for the neighborhood, and it, like, if the people in the area had parties, then they would leave the kids with Jane, and they all felt, like, really comfortable.
Jane, we want you to come to the party. Really? Yes, we need someone to pass out these hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
It was, so she went to school, and it was noted that Jane was, like, quite the storyteller at school. She would make up, like, these grandiose tales of her father being a sailor, and just, like, really outlandish stuff that, like, no one really believed, but some people did. She was known as, like, just being a liar, like a pathological liar, quote, brilliant and terrible.
Which I feel like to be a pathological liar, you have to be pretty smart.
Yeah.
Because you got to be like...
You have to keep up with your own lies.
You have to keep up with your own lies. You can do a little improv on the
Yeah.
fly when, you know,
Yeah.
things start to come clear.
And from all, like, descriptions of her, she honestly sounded like a mean girl, kind of.
Is that a movie reference?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
Like, okay, so...
I've never seen Mean Girls, so I don't know.
Well, you're lost. So...
I wasn't judging. I just said I've never seen it.
Yeah, and it's still your loss. So it's a really good movie.
All right.
And Mean Girl in the sense of someone you could think of in high school.
Okay.
That is.
I know we wear pink on Tuesdays, right?
Wednesdays.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We wear pink on Wednesdays. What days did I fish?
Sunday.
All right, I'm good.
And Mean Girl in the sense where it's like she tried to like pit people against each other. She would start rumors if there was someone she didn't like.
Not weird, kind of being brought up in that like you're part of us but not part of us. I feel like that's a natural reaction.
She had a pretty like huge chip on her shoulder just from like what was going on in her life, I'm sure. And she...
Is it bad that I relate to all the murderers?
Oh my god. And she, you know, I did bring up another Mean Girls reference, but you're not going to get it, so we'll skip over it. And
our listeners might.
So, like, her, without having a physical book, essentially had a burn book. And a burn book is where you have someone you don't like, you have, like, something against them.
Yeah.
And you take them, and that's where you, like, organize your thoughts to start a rumor against them. And, like you're like, this girl... sucks.
It's your crazy book.
She is a fugly, like, that's a reference. Okay. So that's what, like, she did, but sure, she may have had a diary like that. I don't know. But she did this, like, two people.
I feel like Hanna has one of those.
I definitely don't. But she had that kind of mentality. Like, she was trying to knock others down a lot to try and get
make herself look good.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've dealt with people like that. It's not a good time.
Sure. Yeah, she sounded delightful. So, Jane, after she got out of her contract, she did work for the family or relatives of the family for a little bit. But in 1885, she actually started her residency to become a nurse in Cambridge Hospital.
Oh, maybe I have heard this story before.
So, you know, it's so funny. When this was suggested as a topic, I was like, who? And then I, like, listened to...
Was it Fish that suggested?
No, Donnie actually suggested it to me.
I feel like I have heard this.
When I was like, who is that? Like, the name was not ringing any bells for me. And then
you get to the story part and you're like, oh, this sounds familiar.
I literally was like, I've listened to...
multiple podcasts.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, not as good as this one.
Yeah, this is going to be way better.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Because we're going to have Jolly Jane with us here. And the Fish is going to channel her. Fish, start...
The candles are lit.
Yeah, start owning.
So... Jane began her residency, and she actually did really, really well.
Yeah.
So it's not like she wasn't a smart cookie as far as that stuff is concerned. She was able to handle the job, do it really well, and she had a great rapport with everyone she helped and everyone she nursed. Everyone she worked with.
Nursed as in took care of.
Yeah, she took care of them.
Just clearing that up.
Sorry.
That's fine. No.
So...
I just want to make sure I wasn't the only one that was like, what?
She had a very good rapport with everyone that she worked with, too. They said she was always really happy, like, jovial, and just overall a really good person to be around. So it's where she got the nickname Jolly. I do want to call attention to an interesting, like, YouTube channel I found, which... was very interesting. I'm not gonna like say who it was, but in this, they suggested that the reason she was called Jolly Jane was because she was a what considered like overweight or heavier set compared to like the standard of whatever beauty was back then, right? And
kind of like Santa was a jolly old, so that kind of like.
So that's
fat people are happy.
That's what this guy was trying to say.
Yeah,
I was like. Skirt? What?
But I mean,
I don't want. I'm not.
implying that, but that's kind of like the Jolly Saint Nick he's a fat guy, happy.
But like when I was reading things, like that was never a thing.
All right, I got you. It was just this one crazy. All right, I got you.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Rude. Okay, so
Fat people aren't happy. I'm not happy. Fisher, you happy? No. See, he's face palming. Yeah, we're not happy. We're not
also,
jolly.
Also, I could see where I don't think it's that much of a stretch to someone say like, "Oh, jolly old Saint Nick, Jolly Jane."
Right.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So
I was there with you until you're like, no.
No, I know,
Right.
but I'm just saying I'm not giving this guy too hard of a time. But I was like, what the heck? That's a stretch. Only because he brings it up again, and he's like, she was.
So he's like pushing it, and it's not like really a
He
thing.
brings up again like a situation with her and her sister, her foster sister, and she was like she was just so jealous of how thin she was, and I was like, what is this guy's
Was this
deal?
potential YouTuber a very heavy guy?
I have no idea. You
All
didn't
right.
show his face.
All right. 'Cause
Either way,
I feel like he might have been like projecting a little.
either way, I thought it was very interesting, and I was like, I can't not share that really weird encounter I had on the internet. Okay, so this is when obviously she becomes a nurse at Cambridge. She's there for a couple years, and she starts to experiment with her patients, like literally experiment with them. So she starts changing their dosage, messing around with their prescriptions, like messing with their sheets,
Do you know what her?
like drug of choice.
No, like what was she trying to do?
So she literally started out just experimenting to see what overdosing them would do for specific things. So like painkillers.
Okay. So like I give Mr. Smith 35 milligrams of X drug and he acted goofy. If I gave him 65 milligrams, what would he do?
Yeah.
Okay.
She didn't like write that down. That
Yeah,
she would have been in trouble.
Yeah.
She wrote down whatever probably was expected to
Right.
be given, right? And she started like practicing using morphine on people and atropine.
Mm-hmm.
So morphine, like, if you give someone enough, you can kill them. If you
Sure.
give them like the right amount,
They're like, woo!
you knock them out,
Yeah.
make them feel funny.
Yeah.
And then atropine, I believe, is what like wakes people up, like does the opposite effect.
That I don't know. Research?
So that's what I believe.
I'm going to go with that. I have no idea.
I was assuming only because she liked to like bring them in and out of consciousness.
So she kind of knock him out with one and like bring him back with the other?
But I mean, you could kind of just wait for someone to come back too. You don't have to actually bring
but
them back with something
We're
else.
not crazy.
Yeah, you never know. She was just bringing them on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So, she liked to give them enough drugs, like whatever the drug is she was using
Yeah.
on them that day, to immobilize them and like keep them in a semi-conscious state,
Okay.
and then like mess with them. So it's been said from herself and from like others that she was actually like abusing them in different ways, like sexual or otherwise. She'd like get into bed with them and just be like a creep.
Yeah.
She'd like whisper in their ears and just be like really creepy.
I've definitely heard about this before.
This is like
Yeah.
and she, like I said, she liked to try and get them in like kind of like a zombie state, so they would be aware of what was happening.
But she could kind of do what she wanted.
Yes, yes. And she did this to a lot of people. So it was like any patient under her care, I'm sure, was at the will of whatever she felt like doing.
Yeah.
And she was there for years. So,
And this was in Cambridge.
yes.
Yeah.
And then from there, that's when she started to kill people.
Okay.
It's not really said how many she actually killed from each hospital. So, like, as I kind of go through this, the actual cases of death that she caused is you're not sure of, because a lot of her patients or people she like overdosed essentially were older
Right.
and probably in fairly critical condition. So it was.
So it's one of those like, did she kill them or did she just speed it along?
Yeah, I mean, in some instances, I'm sure I like to think she was just like an aggravated
Yeah.
like reason of them dying for sure, but you just never know. So it's obviously hard to say, especially like in that time. I guess there was a habit of nurses like giving them medicine, giving their patients medicine, and then just seeing and making sure they're reacting. Like today, right? People still do that. You give someone medicine, you come back in a little bit to make sure like nothing weird's going on.
Right.
If you don't know how they react to it.
Yeah.
So they'd say like they'd see Jane in the rooms with patients like watching over them.
Curled up in their bed.
But it was just her like...
just her watching
Like,
them?
poking them in the head with a stick or something. Yeah.
Just her watching.
Yeah.
So, she was weird. She's definitely messed up in the whatever she was doing, right? So after a couple years there, she was recommended for Mass General Hospital.
Because that's what you want with your crazy nurses.
Well,
I'm going to recommend you for somewhere else.
As far as they knew, like, she still had a really good rapport with people.
Yeah.
She got along well with her coworkers, and there was
Everybody
no
loves
reason.
her up until they die.
She's a really good nurse if you kind of
all
gloss
the
over
dead
all
people
the crazy.
love her before she died.
Yeah.
Before they die.
So she went there in 1889, and she would go on to kill several more people there, and was fired after a few years.
What was she fired for?
Killing a lot of people there.
I mean,
it was.
I'm assuming that's not.
Yeah,
the
it was because of like neglect of her lack of diligence with handling medicine.
Yeah.
And then she returned to Cambridge for a little bit and was let go for the same thing.
So did they assume she was inept?
Yes.
Okay.
And for the same thing, she was fired for recklessly administering opioids at Cambridge. And
which is a thing.
Yeah, that's a thing now. So I think they caught on like that she was kind of messing around with her sheets and...
Yeah.
Guys, how come we lost so much morphine after we hired this lady?
Yeah.
And she's okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the hospital scenario wasn't working out for her, but she had now several years of experience as being a nurse in major Boston hospitals, so she decided to go the only route she saw possible, which was being a private nurse for people in home.
Oh, sure.
Right?
They're gonna die.
Yeah, they're not gonna...
Sorry, spoiler alert. They're gonna die.
And everyone dies.
It's true.
Yeah, but they're gonna die super soon.
And she, like I said, became a private nurse. It's now 1895, and she doesn't, like, hesitate. It's not like she just hangs out for a little bit and
like
then
day 3, she's like, "Oh, I really love this." Oh, he's dead.
No. Oh,
Thanks
okay.
for hiring me.
There's a little bit of hesitation.
All right.
So her first victims are actually her landlords, the Dunhams.
Okay.
They're elderly, but she lives with them and kills the husband first, Israel. And then 2 years later, kills Lovely, the wife. But she does have kind of a scenario where she's benefiting from
I'm sorry,
them.
the wife's name was Lovely?
Yeah.
I was kind of going to gloss over
I
that.
liked
but
it.
Yeah.
I don't want to
like
gloss
it.
over that.
I like
That's
her
kind of-
name better. What's her original name?
Honora?
Honora, yeah.
That's a really pretty name.
It's a lovely name.
Yeah. It's not a lovely name. Lovely's a name.
Yeah.
Lovely, not a lovely name.
Yeah.
I like Lovely. So anyway, 2 years later she kills Lovely, but she, like I said, she's benefiting from them to an extent. So because she gets low there.
Yeah.
So she takes her time, and this is when she starts actually like poisoning people. Still messing around with
Morphine
Morphine.
and
Atropine.
atropine.
What did we find out about that?
Yeah.
Okay, atropine is basically used for dealing with slow heart rate. So yeah, it would kind of resuscitate somebody
Yeah,
dealing with like being high on morphine.
So it's kind of like the back and forth. Like you can.
Yeah, it works to kind of counteract the effects of
Cool.
morphine.
I mean,
Thank you, research.
yeah. When I read it, I was taking the assumption of the like she used morphine to whatever and then atropine to wake him up, and I was like, yeah, sounds good, and then I was like, didn't actually find out if that was what they did. Okay, so
We're on the internet, so we're obviously accurate.
yes, exactly. Yeah. So after she kills Lovely, it's now 1899, and her foster
Are they partying like it's 1899?
Yeah, they have to be.
I mean, yes,
Yeah.
just it's less entertaining than you'd think.
So-
Like square dancing.
Yeah. And now she's out of kind of a place to live, right? And she ends up reconnecting with her foster sister, Elizabeth, who still holds her like near and dear to her heart and doesn't know that.
That
She's
she's
a
been
crazy
murdering
murder
people for
person?
the last 20 years.
Yeah, and that Jane's like not a big fan of her because she's like watched her and just grown jealous and jealous.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right?
Because she's so thin.
Yes, because she's so thin.
And Jin's just huge.
Yeah. Oh God, that man.
Like
Okay.
was Jane, like I didn't remember, but was Jane heavy or
So she was heavier set. I mean, to be completely fair, though, like the pictures of her, I don't know if there's an actual photograph. It's drawings and depictions, and I don't.
And who, like, that could be anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also for the time, like, she's layered up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I don't think she,
All right.
to me, doesn't.
So
right?
Jane may
Yeah.
or may not have been
She might just
larger
have
than
been
average.
curvy,
She didn't look. She didn't look like.
obese?
No, but she
We're
also.
not body shaming.
No.
You know,
I'm just.
skinny people can be psychopathic killers too.
I'm just saying that
I would say it's more likely.
she didn't look exceptionally thin,
Yeah.
but she looked. I don't know. She just looked healthy to me.
She looked
Like,
average.
yeah, not that if exceptionally thin people cannot be healthy. So.
Says the exceptionally thin person.
And also and also the one who is most into murder of this podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, but let's get out of the body business. 'Cause we're running a
The
fine.
body.
Business.
We're running a fine line of probably
Sorry, let's get off the body business
We're gonna
and get
insult
back
somebody,
to the
but all right,
corpses.
go on.
yeah walking into territory where I'm probably saying something incorrectly, and it's certainly not what I
That's
mean.
my job.
Yes, it is. So, like I said, the most I could get from this is that I know I was mad for Jane about that man and the way he portrayed her. So, as far as I can tell, Jane was
She was healthy.
she didn't look anything
Yeah.
besides average, honestly. So,
She was healthy enough to kill other people.
so she ended up hanging out with her foster sister down on Cape Cod for a little bit, for a few weeks, and she doesn't waste any time starting to poison her and kill her because she simply doesn't like her. Like, that was a def one. That one had motive. Everyone
Yeah.
else, it was just because she was like, I don't know, I like it.
Yeah.
Like, she...
It's not like she's needed one though. I mean, like
Yeah,
at
but this one
point,
she had a motive. Like, let her have a motive.
at this point, I don't think her liking her sister would have saved her stepsister at this point.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like, it's not like there was a don't kill her option for Jane anymore.
She did actually say this was the only person she actually killed because she wanted
Yeah.
to. Like, she really wanted to.
There you go, fish.
So she actually didn't even give her the courtesy of, like, a painless death, because people on morphine, right, they're definitely lucid in and out of consciousness.
Right, yeah.
But morphine is a painkiller. It
Right.
takes away
A
all
lot of
of
times
that.
you give someone who's in a lot of pain morphine just so they're
Right.
out of it.
So not saying there was anything good about the way she was doing it, but there was definitely,
If your choices are to die with morphine and die without morphine, pick morphine.
yeah.
Yep.
And she did not give that to her sister. She was poisoning her with strychnine for
Oh,
a couple weeks.
that will do it.
Yeah, which is awful.
Yeah.
And
It's a little bit more awful than strict 8.
and she was
But not as bad as strict 10.
she was like giving it to her over time to make her really, really sick and weak.
Yeah.
Almost like torture her.
Yeah.
And she did the same thing to her. She got all weird and creepy and got into bed with her and bleh. And then ended up like giving her just a really big dose of strychnine and killing her. And then like she apparently whispered into her ear that she was like, "You suck. I hate you. You were in my burn book first." That kind of stuff.
You didn't wear pink on Wednesday?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wait, did she admit to that?
She did. She told doctors
'Cause
afterwards that
That's
she
a
was...
real low number of witnesses to that bit.
No, she told doctors about it, so it's her recollection.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was just one of those things where it's
So she's making it up, but she's got really no
like if
reason
she's
to.
making it up,
Yeah.
she's making it up. It's not like something coming up
Yeah.
as a story told later
Like,
by
after,
other
yeah.
people. Yeah.
Yep. No, it was one that she like recanted to physicians after.
I killed you because you
Everything
took
went
my
down.
Barbie 107, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Andy, I said I was sorry.
Jane definitely had a tough life, and I don't think her sister intentionally did anything to make it bad. Her foster sister.
Yeah.
But she didn't do anything to help. So anyway, next is Mary Mcnair. So again, just like someone she was hired to help with take care of in home. She was 70. She died in 1899, so same year she killed her sister, just a little bit later. Next is Florence Culkins. She was a little bit younger, 45. I believe she was actually the help of someone that she had already worked for. So maybe Mary or something like that.
Do we know how many people she's killed? I don't want to jump to the
Yeah,
end.
so I think it was like
We're counting.
11 that they knew for sure she did.
Wow.
And is that counting all the random hospital people?
No, that's her time outside.
That's her being like, I
Yes.
killed these 11 people.
That's since she went pro.
That stuff they could prove after like they realized what was happening a couple years after those. So William Ingram, he was 70. So again, another person she was like hired to help. That was in 1900. A little bit later down the line, she was like well into being a serial killer at this point.
Yeah.
She had an MO.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next is Sarah Connor. She's 48.
Oh my God, she killed Sarah Connor?
Yeah.
How will we ever fight the robots?
So she was just a friend of hers that she ended up killing, and I don't know why. Maybe her
She
friend
killed her friend?
Yeah, maybe her friend got suspicious of some actions, or like I don't know. Now we know that.
Was she also skinny?
That's a terrible joke. So, but I don't know. Knowing that she has held a vendetta to someone else, like her foster sister, maybe Sarah.
Maybe there was some sort of like, in her mind, wrongdoing.
Yes,
very
exactly.
one-sided enmity going on, where it's like we're friends and
she talked to that guy or whatever.
Yeah. So this in 1901, she ends up getting a job for the Davis family.
Mm-hmm.
She works for them for a long time. She ends up like poisoning them all, like kind of a little overtime to keep them sick, so that she can
stay employed.
Was there any like Munchausen type?
Oh, I'm sure.
Type of thing going on?
There's gotta be like Munchausen's by proxy.
Yeah,
I'm sure if she's a nurse and someone's sick and she's just like, look, these people are getting worse, and then she gives them atropine, and then she's like, look, they're better. I made them better, and they're like, great job, Jane. Like I'm sure she went through a lot of that.
Yeah.
But then they all die.
Yeah, well, you can.
Well, you know,
yeah.
Like
crazy people are crazy.
And then they'll give Jane sympathy because she was known to be so close with them.
Oh, they're like, oh my God,
with
you
their
lost
patients.
that person.
Yeah, you were in there every day, Jane.
And you worked so hard, you almost brought them back.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there was a lot of that.
Yeah, I'm sure you did all you could. Which, I mean, she did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Davis family had a rough going with her. So she first kills Maddie Davis, which is the mom, and so after living with them for a couple months, Maddie Davis confronts Jane because she was $5,000 in debt with them, and I don't know if that's
Jane was $5,000.
Yeah, I don't.
With the people she worked for.
Yeah, for getting medical supplies and needs for them.
Oh, okay.
How is that?
I'm like, how do you get in debt with the people you work for?
Like, do you get advances on your paycheck? Is she not?
I think she was just like, hey guys, I need money to get this medicine for you.
Oh, and they just
and they're expecting her to pay them back. That seems.
They were just like, what is like? I think they had reached the limit of what was tolerable for like whatever
we gave
was
you
happening.
$2,000 for medicine, and you brought back $50 worth of medicine.
Whatever was happening, and she confronted her, and Jane was still like really good to talk to. Like she was still a very charming person, so she ended up kind of coaxing her down, talking her off from like whatever kind of trying to get back her money, and invited her into like her part of the house she was staying in, made her some tea, poisoned her.
Poison tea.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she died in 1901.
I don't want anything anyone has ever made for me now.
Yeah. And then she decides that she needs to kill the whole family. And next is, I believe, I have it written in a order. Will I be able to find it? Yeah. She killed the mother and then the daughter. So next is Genevieve. She's the daughter. She's married, so her last name is Gordon. She kills her with poison. And then, Maddie she killed with morphine. And she told everyone that she was sick and, like, had a stroke or something.
Yeah.
And everyone was a little suspicious. And then she killed Genevieve. And then she killed the dad, Alden. And And then she killed Mary, the youngest daughter.
Did she do her standard, like, climb in bed with them and whisper things in their ear as they die?
It didn't say, but I'm sure she did, because that was just what she did.
Crazy ass thing. Can I say ass?
Sure.
Crazy ass thing to do on this.
And Jane spread rumors about the family that, like, there was just, like,
they just love poison.
Yeah. No, she, like...
I keep telling them not to have it, and they're all like, poison.
Look, when I signed on, I didn't realize I was, working for a suicide cult. Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, she said that they were just, like, all, like, just sick and had bad habits and whatever. And
they're all big fans of Jim Jones.
Yeah, they just were not good. They weren't good people. So then, now she's out of that family, essentially, right? But the husband of one of the daughters is, like, very suspicious. So he's pressed to, like, figure out what's going on because there's, like, no explanation for it. Oh, so it's
because everyone she talks to dies.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
And it just so happens that Minnie, that's Mary, the youngest daughter, they call her Minnie, her father-in-law had come into their house to visit or whatever, and she happens to see Jane giving Minnie an injection, but, like, didn't say anything. He was, like, wicked weirded out and was like, what? And, like, kept it in the back burner, and then everyone died.
Yeah.
So he was like, I think I should bring this up, brings it up to his son, and he's like, you got to look into this Davis family thing.
They all shouldn't die.
Yeah, they all shouldn't die. Yeah. This is crazy. So he begs them to do, like, another autopsy, and they get essentially what happens. So next she needs to figure out where to go. She's killed off this whole family, so she moves in with her foster sister's husband, Ornell.
Who she's already killed her foster sister.
Yes.
Okay, that's not weird at all.
And also his sister's housekeeper, his
it's like a
brother-in-law's
episode.
Brother-in-law's housekeeper, and the housekeeper starts to question, like, Jane's everything. And
why do you have all this poison with you, Jane? Is this normal? Like,
what are you doing with that needle?
Yeah.
Stop, stay back.
And Ornell's sister.
You have the strict 9, the stricts 1 through 9. Like, do you really need to have that with you?
So, not Jane's sister, but Ornell's sister lives with them too, I guess. And she and the housekeeper are like, what's that going on? And Jane ends up killing her foster sister's sister-in-law. Poisoning her.
Her foster sister's sister-in-law.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so Ornell's sister.
Okay.
And Jane, it's like, I guess she might have admitted this at one point, but she was still, like, just jealous of her sister, who's dead. And she was trying to just, I don't know, take life by the reins, and she tried to put the moves on Ornell, her foster sister's
foster brother-in-law? Foster
husband.
brother-in-law?
Yeah, foster brother-in-law.
Okay.
So she, and he just, like, was not interested. He shut her down real quick, and so she started.
It's like, I'm not into the murdery thing. I'm gonna swipe left.
She started to poison him lightly, just because she wanted to see where it went, and she also tried to blackmail him, saying that if she didn't let her live with him and, like, just not question anything she was doing, that she would go out and tell everyone that she was pregnant with his baby.
I'm not super serious about this guy, so I'm only gonna, like, lightly poison him to see where it goes.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, that is her way of flirting.
And Ornell fired her. He was like, I'm not having any of this. You gotta go. And Jane told him that she would kill herself with morphine or whatever if he made her leave. And so she knew how to, like, dose her morphine to just knock herself out. So that's what she did to,
so
like,
she, like, faked it,
present
like, a
death.
cry for help, kind of cry for, not help. I don't think she was looking for help.
Attention.
Yeah.
There you go.
And he was aware that this was, like, not real. And he went to the police and was like, hey, you gotta, like, figure this out, and told them everything. But at the same time, the Davis family is having the youngest daughter, who is most recently dead, autopsied, and there's a toxicology report ran on her.
And this is the one where, like, she shouldn't be injecting her with anything.
Yes. And on October 29th, 1901, Jane was arrested for the deaths of the Davis family.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yes. And Minnie's toxicology came back, and she was found to have, like, a bunch of crap going on in her.
Lots of morphine.
Yeah. And she was actually, before she was arrested, they assigned a police detail for her because they, like, realized how potentially dangerous she was, and she was, like, followed around by the cops to, like, watch her because they were nervous for
Other people?
other people
Everyone
in
around her.
Ornell. Yeah. So she wasn't just, like, they were like, oh, we gotta go get her. They were like, they heard the stories coming in, and they were like, we gotta watch this lady. She's apparently awful. And she went to trial. And when she went to trial, she was dressed in her nurse's uniform to try and catch sympathy.
Sympathy vote.
Yep.
Votes. Please,
Yeah, votes.
It's not votes, but
I mean,
Sure.
yeah, no, they vote.
I guess.
And then she would confess to doctors that she killed all those people that I just told you about, and confessed. She killed the 12 people that were like definite, and then she confessed to her own defense team that she killed at least 31 people, but she doesn't remember everyone she killed in her time in the hospital
Right.
because there was just too many.
It's like she doesn't care.
Yeah, and
So she can keep charts on them.
and she was found not guilty by reason of insanity,
Okay.
and she was sentenced to the Taunton Insane Hospital, and
Which I feel like is another episode.
yeah, and she actually got that conviction because she was so insistent that she was sane that they were like, yeah, you're crazy. And
So she was
wouldn't-
so that's a way to play it. So I mean,
she definitely was though.
what, crazy?
Yeah,
Sure.
but she was so insistent that like
That she wasn't.
yeah, that they were like, so but you are, and then they sentenced her. And she also said that they said because her acts were so like deviant in nature and had like a sexual undertone, that was also another reason why they considered her to be like just next level
Yeah.
psychopath. And the reports all say that her mental state only declined when she went into the hospital. She was seen like talking to people that weren't there, laughing all the time. Like the jolliness did not go away. She just got more.
Heavy.
It's not even- oh my god. So she just her mental health didn't improve at all. It went certainly downhill, and she had zero remorse for anything she did, and still insisted she was sane until the very end. And people think that she had like over 100 victims
Wow.
between everything, and she died at 81 of pneumonia in the hospital.
Jeez. So she was around a long time.
Oh yeah.
Did she have any victims once she was in the hospital that they know of?
No, nothing said anything
Yeah.
about that. Yeah, she was kept pretty under wraps. But you never know.
That's crazy.
You never do know.
That's crazy, Hannah.
It is. I know. She was a wild one. That flogging Molly.
The Janice Joplin, Jolly Janice Molly Joplin, whatever her name is.
So you remember hearing that story before, though?
I definitely have heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the thing that like really rings out is she would poison them and then climb into bed as they died.
Yeah, she was a
Like
weirdo.
that just doesn't go away when you hear that, and you're like, ooh,
Yeah.
that's super creepy.
She's not a lot of fun, but sometimes she was.
But she seems
I mean,
so nice.
like people like morphine, kind of a lot.
So, yeah, all in all, she was pretty intense, and she's one of those like women in history that's like the first women's
The worst.
serial killer.
She's like,
Yeah.
the first lady.
But
female serial
I
killer.
feel like they say that about a lot of women that happen to kill a lot of people in the time. I don't know who the first one actually was,
Yeah.
but she's one of those
She did
that's
kill
like,
a lot of people.
She
Yeah,
did.
she did.
Yeah.
She's up there.
Like, she's definitely earned her place in the conversation.
Sure. She may not be the number one, but she's in the top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
So yeah, that's what makes Massachusetts great. Yeah, no, that was like I said, interesting. I've definitely heard of it before, but this was like the first real.
This is probably the first deep dive
Yeah,
into.
like I said, I've heard it, but I don't think I've ever really connected it with Massachusetts before.
Yeah, and you know what? I think when I've heard it before, the Massachusetts part was like
Kind of downplayed.
downplayed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it never really said like I don't think like where she was from. I
See,
mean, it all makes
the weird
sense.
thing is, for me, it's the other way because I'm pretty sure the first time I heard about this is one of those like local history website things.
I think I heard about like stuff you missed in history or something.
Okay,
like that.
see, it's one of those.
Yeah.
So it's like they hate us because they ain't us, kind of.
Well, we're happy to have her.
Yeah, we love psychos here in Massachusetts.
Oh goodness.
And
Yes, Hannah, we love psychos.
I know you do.
We love psychos in a historical sense.
Yeah.
No, but if you have other suggestions,
Oh my gosh.
What was there more? Sorry.
Jolly Jane liked to kill people.
with
kindness.
Jolly Hanna Chop.
Oh no,
Joplin. So Jolly Hanna, you can reach Jolly Hanna at oldcolonycast@gmail.com and send your murder ideas to her, or you can reach me and Fish with just your general ideas of what we should cover. And we've gotten some really good ones, and we're going to look at some. Some are, we try to stick to Plymouth and surrounding areas, so try to keep it that way. Like there's lots of cool history, but other people are going to cover that stuff. Other people are going to cover that stuff. And so you can reach us at oldcolonycast@gmail.com. You can follow us on all the social medias at oldcolonycast. And we're going to do, I think, at least one more spooky episode this year.
Yeah, one more spooky.
And that'll be fun. So this is the part we stop talking. Thanks for listening to today's podcast. You can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or on Instagram at Inebri-art6. You can email us at Inebri-art@yahoo.com. And make sure you listen to the other podcasts on the Inebri-art Podcast Network, including Bar Talk, Old Colony Cast, Retro Redoctopus, America's Hometown Horror Podcast, and our newest one, Theme Park Legends, a podcast about working at theme parks. What else? And we'll catch you again next time.